Hey, I'm Shani, this is Media 101, and today I'm going to talk to you about how political advertising affects voters' decisions. So, in case you've been living under a rock for the past couple of months, I feel duty-bound to inform you that there is an election coming up, and like most of you, despite the election not really having started yet, I already know who I'm going to vote for. Republican candidate Abraham Lincoln. I have chosen Lincoln because he aligns with my socially liberal yet fiscally conservative sensibilities. Not to mention the fact that if I voted for anybody else, my family would disown me. Like me, most of you already know who you're going to vote for, even if there is no candidate yet. Do you think that any amount of political advertising is going to change your mind? Now, we all know that anecdotal evidence isn't really evidence, but if you thought to yourself, no, there's no way I'm changing my mind, then statistically speaking, you're probably right. In this video, we're going to talk about how and why that is true. Because it is the easiest place to start from, and for no other reason, I'm going to start with negative advertising. You see, I've decided to vote for Honest Abe, but his opponent, Donald Trump, has decided to run a smear campaign against him. We've all heard that negative advertising is more effective than positive advertising, and in context, this is true, and this is because negativity sets off the brain's defenses. It's like a mini adrenaline rush where your brain, including your memory, starts working overtime. But most of the research indicates that this effect can A, be mitigated by overexposure to positive advertising, and B, is just as likely as positive advertising to make somebody change their mind about who they're going to vote for. And by just as likely, I mean just as unlikely, since neither are very likely. Think about the candidate you undoubtedly have in your mind. I'm sure by now you've heard bad things about them, but that didn't make you change your mind. Think about all the smear campaigns you were exposed to in the last elections. Did they make you change your mind? No amount of negative campaigning is ever going to make me think that Lincoln is not suited to be president, just like no amount of campaigning, period, is ever going to make me think that Donald Trump is. So there are two psychological phenomena that help us understand why study after study show this to be true: cognitive dissonance and confirmation bias. Cognitive dissonance is that uncomfortable feeling you get when you get new information that contradicts with your already existing beliefs. To deal with this uncomfortability, your brain's most common response is to just dismiss the new information. Confirmation bias is the notion that your brain is much more likely to accept new information that confirms and reinforces your already existing beliefs. It's why psychics have a job. So when faced with political advertising against your chosen candidate or in favor of the opposing candidate, your brain is likely to dismiss this new information, usually by either forgetting it or believing it not to be true. Additionally, exposure to advertising in favor of your candidate or opposed to the opposing candidate is more likely to confirm and reinforce your belief in their right to rule. So we've concluded that exposure to political advertising is unlikely to make a voter change their mind about who they're going to vote for. Well, then what the hell is it there for? Why do candidates spend an obscene amount of money on it? By and large, the answer is mobilization. Being exposed to political advertising helps people who already know who they're going to vote for get off their butt and vote. If it's really good, it's going to turn those people into advocates for the campaign. If you believe your candidate actually needs your vote, you're much more likely to actually get up and do it. This is something the Obama campaign did magnificently. People who were likely never going to vote for McCain got swept up by the cause. It became a religion. People who may or may not have actually voted got up and did so. This is likely why the 2008 election had one of the highest voter turnouts in 40 years. So where does that leave us? By and large, research indicates that exposure to political advertising is unlikely to make a voter get up and change their mind about who they were going to vote for. But it is very likely to push that person to go vote for the person they had already decided on. This brings us full circle back to the two-step flow hypothesis, which, if you missed, you can find here. You see, the People's Choice study found that the largest segment of the population, the early deciders, knew from the beginning of the campaign who they were going to vote for and did not change their minds. And it was also those people who had the highest level of media exposure. This means that the more they were exposed, the more they became believers in their cause and advocates for their political candidate, or opinion leaders. If you found that video interesting, please give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends, subscribe to my channel. You can follow me on all the social media links in the description. See you next time.